back to another episode of Skynyrd Shorts. This is episode number 42. 42. What's a 42 number mean to you?
Kyle Petty is everything to us, 42 wise.
Kyle Petty, is that the best we can do?
Oh, well, maybe not.
Gotta be something better than that. I can't think of it. But you're right, Kyle Petty.
And that's our Southern NASCAR classic number to me.
Yeah, and I like Kyle Petty, but he didn't win a lot. I mean,
He's still Petty.
he's a Petty. But not Tom Petty, because Tom Petty's not Southern, right? Okay, doesn't matter.
Easy.
Episode 42, and y'all been waiting for this. It's the Allman Brothers, part 1.
Or part something.
Well, it's part 1, and to go into this is that, as y'all know from when we picked our favorite bands, which we're going to redo in a couple episodes, right? So start suggesting new band members. But Joe loves the Allman Brothers band, right?
Well, I love their music. I love the brothers.
Yeah, I mean...
And everything they've contributed over the last, how many years? 50 years or...
Yeah, I mean, and you and I, the big deal was
longer.
We saw Greg in 87.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm No Angel tour. It was mind-blowing. It was so great. Anyway, so part 1, we're going to start off at the beginning, right? Where the Allman Brothers kind of started. And as I understand it, they moved from Nashville to Daytona. They were going to high school in Daytona. Okay, and I think that the story goes that Dwayne had pretty much dropped out in 9th grade to shoot pool and play music. and Greg wanted to drop out, but the mother, Geraldine, said, nah, ain't going to happen. Dwayne was a year older, and so they started playing around town as the Allman Joys. And they were, you know, a local band. We all know local bands, and they were having some success and drew a lot of people. It's a high school scene, right? Of course, you're in Jacksonville and Daytona Beach, and it's a different vibe down there than it is in a lot of places. But so that was all going well, and then Greg got out of high school.
He had dreams. We'll say dreams.
Can you really say dreams?
He wanted to be a dentist, I think.
Is that right?
About going to dental school, I believe.
Now, who was it was it Carlisi or somebody that went to Georgia Tech?
He went to Georgia Tech engineering.
Yeah, architect or something, right? So Greg wanted to do that. Oh, interesting. So anyway,
but Dwayne was waiting for him to get out of school so he could start playing music.
Yeah, and this was Dwayne's passion. And Greg followed Dwayne, and they started gigging around the country. Eventually, and we're kind of telling the story, maybe not quite perfect, but eventually they ran into Nitty Gritty Dirt Band in St. Louis, I think. And their manager said, hey, you guys go to L.A., we'll make you rock stars. You'll be the Rolling Stones' second coming. So what do? You moved to L.A., right?
I went to L.A.
I mean, I'm going to be the next Rolling Stones. That's not hard. Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, okay. We'll go. So they go to L.A., and they get in with this company called Liberty Records. And the Liberty Records names the band Hourglass. And they put them in the studio, and they pick out the material, and they pick out all this kind of stuff happens. And of course, this is out in the Summer of Love time, right? 67, 68 time period. And they kind of tell Dwayne how to play the guitar, and the guitar sounds like the fuzz box that Keith Richards plays on Satisfaction. It's really not Dwayne. It's really not even who they are. And they were pretty unhappy. And even though they were playing at clubs with the Doors and Crosby, you know, all these things, they were doing all these cool things, but their band really wasn't making it, and they were unhappy, particularly Dwayne. Yeah. Somehow or another, for the second record, they wound up getting back down south in Muscle Shoals and Jacksonville and recording some tracks down there. And they liked them better, but Liberty Records said no. Dwayne said goodbye. So we're still left at this point with...
I think Greg's still searching for something in L.A.
Greg is back in L.A.
Different line of music, I think.
Dwayne goes to Muscle Shoals. And this is where things really happen. Now, in the previous episode, I mentioned the fact that Dwayne's idea, and his little guitar lick that caused Wilson Pickett to record a #1 R&B hit, Let It Be by the Beatles. But I was wrong. I meant to say Hey Jude by the Beatles. So thank you for correcting me. We frequently need correcting. But what's the difference? They're both Beatles songs written by Paul McCartney. So Dwayne's in Muscle Shoals, and he's making a lot of fans. He's their #1 session guitarist there, and he's going to New York and playing on sessions up there too. He's with Aretha Franklin. It's amazing the people he's playing with because he's great. Well, behind the scenes, a man called Phil Walden, who's a Capricorn Records guy, comes across it. And so they work with Wexler out of New York to buy his contract or whatever the situation is. And one day after a session, Dwayne walks in the room and there's a man there, and he says, I'm Phil Walden. Dwayne goes, I know. He said, let's make a band. Okay.
Let's make a band.
Yeah. So that is really where the Allman Brothers kind of began with trying to put the stuff together. And we know that, let's see, they ran into Dickie and who was playing with Dickie in another band?
Bush Trucks.
Butch in Jacksonville. And they
had some experience with them a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Dwayne had some experience with them.
Of course, Dickie Betts was come off the Midwest circuit where he was just about as hot a guitarist in that area as Dwayne was down south. Dickie Betts is an amazing guitarist. In fact, there's a song, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo by Rick Derringer. Y'all have all heard it. Rock, I can't do it. But where it says, it's a band called the Jokers, they were laying it down.
And the Jokers are?
Dickie Betts is the guitarist in the Jokers. So he was memorialized in that song, a great song by Rick Derringer, who was also a guitar god, right?
Pretty much.
Derringer. So this band's all coming together, and Dwayne's got everybody together, and he really needs his brother.
Yeah, I think he drags Greg.
He pretty much drags him. He pretty much chains him to the car and
from the
drags him.
clutches of the LA music.
Yeah. So that's how it all began, right? I mean, you've got this record here, which is a pretty interesting record. You back in the day, I bought this record, and it's basically a combination. It's their first two records. It's Allman Brothers and Ottawa South, just as a double record, right? It's pretty cool. It has tons of liner notes in it. If you want to know more about the band or the songs, it's very cool. But the songs themselves are amazing. I mean, you listen to these first two records, and you just cannot, from the very beginning, Don't Want You No More. I mean, think about it. The songs that go through here, it's just, it's them. They're allowed to play their stuff. They're allowed to do it their way, and the world notices. I mean, the Grateful Dead noticed. Jerry Garcia and Dwayne become friends. They start, talking to one another, and it shattered the world. I mean, the music scene was all different after these two records, and they were on top in a lot of ways. The Allman Brothers were
just like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen to the music. It's the music.
The music got them to the top.
Yeah, and you got a situation like, Eric Clapton. He hears, actually it was Hey Jude, and he actually pulled his car over and said, who the hell was that? It's Eric Clapton, who at that time, they said Clapton is God of the guitar world, right? And of course, we think it was Jimi Hendrix, or I do, but Clapton was before Jimmy. But he has to stop the car. He can't even drive the car anymore. Got to find that guy. And so then, we can talk about Clapton for days and days, but Clapton's in this huge depressive state. Clapton, he is so bummed because he's in love with George Harrison's wife. And even though they spend time together, she refused to leave George Harrison. And he's bummed. And so he writes all these stupid love songs. And they go to Miami to record them. And he gets Dwayne Allman in the studio. And Layla and Other Love Songs is recorded. And it's all, Bell Bottom Blues, all this stuff is aimed right at George Harrison's wife, who won't leave George, even though she loves Eric. But she probably knows he's messed up. He's having his big drug problems, all kinds of things are happening. And And Layla, the record doesn't do anything for a while. You know, people don't really realize, you know, it's just Eric Clapton. And so it took a while for that record to catch on. Did you know? They didn't even get a good review in Rolling Stone initially. Yeah, so this is okay.
I'm not surprised.
This is okay, yeah. I'm not a big fan of Rolling Stone. But this is basically the birth of the Allman Brothers. And then, you know, I think it was October the 29th, 1971. Dwayne got his first big royalty check from the Layla record, actually. And he and a buddy went to the bank to cash it, and they were all excited. And then later that night, or late afternoon, he's driving his Harley Davidson Sportster, and he swerves to avoid a logging truck and hits somebody else, and he's seriously, critically, mortally injured, and he's alive at the hospital.
They've done all they can do.
Several hours of surgery. Dwayne don't make it. And really, that same night, his brother Greg overdosed, nearly died. Barry Oakley flipped his car in an accident from doing stupid stuff, drinking and driving. Should have been killed probably, but he survives. Suddenly, the world goes dark for the Allman Brothers. There is no leader left. I mean, the Allman Brothers are, you know, they agreed to take 6 months off after Dwayne's funeral, but really, their only antidote was music, right? So the only thing they could do was music and get together and play and whatnot. This starts off really the decline of Barry Oakley, because after this point, Barry Oakley is no longer with them. He is always drunk. In fact, on Ramblin' Man, he doesn't even play bass because he didn't show up. So I forget who it was that played. It was Bobby Sandler or somebody?
I don't know.
It was not Barry Oakley on Ramblin' Man.
70s. What a terrible, tragic time.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's interesting. Almost a year to the day when Dwayne's killed, Barry's killed in very similar fashion on his motorcycle.
The moving truck. Is the moving truck back down in front of him, or was that Dwayne? One or the other.
You know, Dwayne swerved to miss a logging truck, I think, which is crazy. You know, this is great music. They've just started recording Eat a Peach when Dwayne is killed. Eat a Peach, many people's favorite record, was named, you know, it doesn't really say Eat a Peach anywhere, I don't think. Does it? I don't know. There it does right there. Dwayne had a saying called, he say, Eat a Peach. And Dwayne, how can I say this and still be PG?
Peach is our favorite fruit. Georgia peaches.
That's what he called a certain part of a female's anatomy was a peach. So that's where that name came from, if you didn't know. He's killed during the recording of it. You know, it's just horrible stuff, right? So I don't want to go too much deeper because everything kind of changes after Dwayne dies. Eat a Peach is released. Things, you know, they remain a band until 1976 was the first breakup at that point. But I think we can never, there's probably not two first records like the Allman Brothers and Ottawa South. You could talk about Skynyrd's first two records, maybe are in that league, but they certainly didn't get the airplay or the worldwide play. You know, they didn't attract the kind of audience that the Allman Brothers were unique. Everyone in that band was super talented. I mean, it's kind of like our own all-star band. That's who you want to call.
And they were a jam band from day one, I think.
Yeah, and
that's what they were, jam band. The best guitarists in the world, the best percussion, the best songwriting, drums.
Barry Oakley.
It was all together, you know. And there were people in that time, and still today. We want to see a jam band. We want to hang out all night and listen to their music.
Yeah. Yeah, and it used to be that you'd go to shows, and the great thing about live shows is that it wasn't the record.
Normally.
The first concert I went to where I heard the record instead of the band was '79 Long Run Tour by the Eagles. I was so let down because it was the record. I mean, everything was just like perfect. I go see Warren Zevon. He's changing the lyrics. Of course, he's loaded. He was on it. But it was always something different happening. It was kind of cool. It was unpredictable. It was great. And with jam bands, how they played the songs was different every night.
There was no finish.
Yeah, I mean, every night. And that's just, it was cool. It was spontaneous. It was, I don't know, you get in a certain groove and you go one direction or another and it changes night to night. I mean, the live record that they did at Fillmore, right?
Fillmore East.
Yeah.
That's the classic live record.
I mean, yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that's what started live records. I think that was the first really big live record, was the Allman Brothers. Then suddenly after, it's like, Cheap Trick did Budokan in '77 or '78. Then 10 people did Budokan. Bob Dylan did Budokan, But I think the Allman Brothers Fillmore record was
the launching pad
of live albums that people realized this is some cool stuff. Here's a 20-minute song. It's really great. We really enjoy it. So let's stop right there with Allman Brothers #1. Any thoughts about?
There's just so much to interpret and learn. I mean, historically, these guys, they made history. As far as us in Southern rock, I really believe that.
So we really view the beginning of Southern rock as Allman Brothers. This record right here, Allman Brothers Band, and then Ottawa South. To me, that's where it began. '69 is what we're saying. And because I don't think there was really a definitive form before that. Phil Walden was a big part of it. Of course, he managed Otis Redding, who 4 years earlier, before Dwayne died, was killed at the height of his career. Dwayne wasn't even at the height of his career yet. Who knows? He's kind of like, Steve Gaines. Who knows where he was going to go? It was going to be amazing, right? I mean, Steve Gaines would still be a #1 guy today, I think. But anyway, we'll talk about later on the connections with Skynyrd and the Allmans. We'll talk about the Greg stuff. We'll talk about what happened after that. So that'll be in part 2 of this multi-part series on the Allman Brothers, who is that your second favorite Southern band?
I was thinking it would have to be, just because it's the Allman Brothers. There are songs that they did and played and the years and years of different band members and great band members and memorable band members that we can never change.
And we know Ronnie studied them, and Ronnie got advice for them, and Ronnie was involved with the Phil Walden stuff, and it was. We'll talk about connections later.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. It'll be a whole other episode. Anyway, thank you all for watching our Lynyrd Skynyrd shorts. Not much on Lynyrd Skynyrd here, but the Allman Brothers were certainly had something to do with Lynyrd Skynyrd getting started. They were all in the same area and whatnot. Joe, anything else before we go?
I mean, we're learning, and we're going to make more connections as we learn.
More connections.
More connections.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see you pretty soon here on our favorite YouTube channel, Lynyrd Skynyrd Shorts. Until next time, we'll see you there.
Jam on.